Jose Rizal, the national hero of the Philippines, the greatest Malayan. He is so popular that he is everywhere, not just among the living, but also among the dead. He was the Manny Pacquiao of the Filipinos at that time for having the celebrity status. But on the other hand, he was also the enemy number one of the Spanish government and the Roman Catholic Church. And eventually, he was sentenced to death by firing squad in 1896. But what if Jose Rizal is still alive? How can he cope up with the Philippines of today? How would he react to the different social and political issues of the country? And should he decide to run as president of the Philippines? Can he win? This is Filipinos Ask What If? And here's what would happen if Jose Rizal is still alive today. If Jose Rizal is still alive today, he will already be 159 years old and is already suffering from Alzheimer's disease and might probably already be peeing on his pants. So let's pretend that you have invented a super time machine that would allow you to go back to that fateful day of December 30, 1896, the date of Jose Rizal's execution, and snatch him from his enemies and bring him to the year 2020 Philippines. And ladies and gentlemen of the year 2020, let's all meet Jose Rizal. And once he sees the tall buildings of Manila, he would be like, "So huge! Where am I? Jose, you are in Luneta, and this is the year 2020. And he would just laugh and would think that he is just dreaming. But after you slapping him in the face, he finally realizes that everything is real. He would be in awe to see how fast and macho the jeepneys of Manila are. The sound of the noisy streets would be too overwhelming for him. He would frown once he sees his tomb in Luneta being given too much attention and veneration. He just wanted to have a simple final resting place, by the way. And this is not so simple. And once Jose Rizal walks in the red light district of Manila, he would be shocked at how vulgar the modern Filipinas he is seeing. He seldom sees women during his time show even a peek of their knees. But here, he would be drooling and seeing things like, "Hey yo, did somebody turn off the AC? Yo, it's getting hot in here." And Jose Rizal's reaction would be like,
"Dios mío, qué barbaridad."
Being a curious cat, he would want to know all the events that have happened after the year he was executed. He would be interested to find out about what happened to the reforms he and his band of Ilustrados were fighting for. What happened to the revolution of Andres Bonifacio? And he would want to know whether his boardmate Jose Alejandrino revealed their sexy time with some bitch sisters in Belgium. Yeah, he did, Jose. And for him to get the answer to all his questions, where would you take him? To the Philippine National Library? Of course not. That is Stone Age. You would give him your smartphone instead and teach him how to search things in Google. And oh man, he would probably hide in shame because everything about him can all be found in the internet, even up to the tiniest bit of information. Like Jose Rizal's penis is slightly bent to the right, his waistline is 26 inches, he didn't wear underwear, and Jose Rizal would be like, and he would be laughing his arse off while watching the movie General Luna in Netflix. He would pretty sure say, "Antonio, Antonio, Antonio, your mouth is as dirty as ever." He would be dumbfounded once he learns that some religious groups in the Philippines worship him as their Filipino reincarnation of Jesus Christ. He is pretty sure that he doesn't have anything to do with these groups. Since Jose Rizal is a frequent traveler, he would be busy looking for the cheapest flights of the Cebu Pacific Airline. And he will need money to support his travel goals, of course. And where would he find some precious cash? Because he's a man of many talents, he will have no problem earning money because he can work as an ophthalmologist, teacher, farmer, writer, cartoonist, linguist, engineer, fencing instructor, and a martial artist. Conor McGregor versus Jose Rizal. Anybody? He will surely travel to Japan to reminisce his romantic days with Osei-san. Yeah, that's the Japanese girl he left after a month of sexy time. I mean romantic time. He would go to Germany to experience once more the mouth-watering beer of Munich. He would make scholarly discussions with the German experts on Philippine studies. He would for sure clear the air between him and...
Hi, I'm Hitler. Are you my daddy? Shut up, I'm not your dad.
He would next wander to the streets of Paris and take selfies at the Eiffel Tower.
Wow!
He would reminisce his student days in Universidad Central de Madrid in Spain. And since Jose Rizal likes to tell his travel experiences to his friends, he would set up an Instagram and Facebook account so he could post his travel goals. He will go to America just to check how things have changed since the last time he went there. Although he would be impressed by the progress of the nation, he would be turned off by how discrimination still happens. He would probably repeat his old impression of America that it is a land of freedom but only for the whites. And just like in the past, Rizal would suddenly just decide to go home. And what if Jose Rizal decides to play an active role in the social and political affairs of the country? If Jose Rizal is alive today, he would also become one of the fiercest critics of the Duterte administration. Being an idealist and an advocate of change, he will not agree at how the government is dealing its war on drugs. He will propose less draconian approaches like rehabilitation, creation of livelihood programs, and strengthening of moral and spiritual values. And President Duterte would just say,
Son of a... You know nothing.
And the Spratly Islands issue against China? Well, Rizal is not an advocate of violence, as was the case of his non-approval of the Katipunan Revolution of Andres Bonifacio. So he would not suggest military approach in dealing with the problem. He would instead write articles denouncing the aggressiveness of China while defending the position of the Philippines on the issue. He would also criticize the government for not being aggressive in its claim. And President Duterte again would be like,
Son of a... You know nothing.
But despite his negative opinion of the government on some issues, he would still not ally himself with the current political opposition just simply because he knows not just how to criticize, but he knows also how to praise where credit is due. And of course, he wouldn't want to be associated with this and this. And if finally he decides to run for president of the Philippines, 100% he'll lose. What? And why? After all, he has all the attributes of becoming the best president of the Philippines, right? Okay, here's why. The politics during Rizal's time is very much different to the dynamics of the Philippine politics of today. He doesn't have the funds to carry out a national campaign, which would cost him billions of pesos. He also doesn't have the guts to dance budots on national TV. And since he is very idealistic, he will not make promises that he cannot fulfill. And the voting public will surely get bored of his intelligent and serious campaign speeches, and this kind of attitude will not make him win the votes of the people. And once the campaign gets tough, it's hard to say whether he can survive the mud throwing, backstabbing, and black propaganda of his opponents. It is because Jose Rizal has this tendency to be onion skinned, just like when he walked out during his election contest against Marcelo del Pilar for the position of leader or president of the Filipinos in Europe. Poor Rizal, he would be eaten alive by his opponents on the very first day of the election campaign. But what if he gets elected as the president of the Philippines? What kind of a president would he be? He would probably become the best president of the Philippines. Well, he is fluent in as many languages, which is an advantage in his dealings with the other international leaders. He also have excellent academic background, excellent set of skills, and of course, he is a morally principled person. And this scenario can only happen if he wins the presidency. And he will not. Just blame it to the current form of government, okay? And as he takes a look at the Filipino youth of today, to which he previously believed to be the hopes of this country, he would probably think twice now once he sees the younger generation getting destroyed by drugs, vices, and excessive partying. He would despise the Communist Party of the Philippines and its armed group NPA for instilling into the minds of their young recruits a distorted and outdated sense of nationalism. He would absolutely get mad once he hears students joining the rebel group and getting killed eventually during a firefight against the government military troops. The kind of youth that Jose Rizal envisioned is someone who is educated and knows how to use it to better his country and not to destroy it. Rizal may probably criticize the government for some of its incompetence, but he would not want the same government to be destroyed. And if he continues to see that the cancers of society which he fought very hard more than 100 years ago are still prevalent until now, he would doubt whether his getting shot in 1896 should have happened. But as long as he sees hope that the future of this nation is bright and the Filipino youth promising, he will not hesitate to be shot over and over again just to see his beloved Philippines free from the evil clutches of ignorance and corruption.
Consumatum est!